Hello and welcome to Brand Your Passion, the show that helps you turn the thing you love the most into something that people know and love you for. I'm your host, Holly Arnett, the brand coach for creatives, and I'm on a mission to make the world a more creative place, one brand at a time. If you're ready to get more eyes on your work, more dollars in your pocket, and more creativity in your life, you're in the right place. Welcome. Let's brand your passion. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. In one of the recent episodes, I was talking to you about what brand identity design is and why it's important, and giving you like a one-on-one on all things brand design. And today I wanted to talk to you about exactly what goes into building your brand identity and give you some fundamental things that you need to be thinking about when putting your own brand identity together. So let's dive in. There are a bunch of things that go into creating a brand identity. Before you do any of that, it's really, really important to make sure that you have done all and any of your brand strategy side of things and gone through and determined what your message is all about and how you want your brand identity to come across and how you want to convey your message to your audience and who that audience is. So all of that stuff is really, really important because it's going to inform all of these things that you're going to decide about your brand identity, because there's no point in doing your brand identity without doing those things, because then your identity is going to attract the wrong people or be saying the wrong thing. It's important that you consider these things first so that you don't waste time or money or effort down the track when you realize that your identity is not doing its job. Let's talk about what goes into creating a brand identity. First and foremost, the big one, the thing that everybody worries or stresses about, the thing that stops people from achieving their dreams and just starting the thing that they want to do, is a logo. There are so many different parts, types, styles of logos. There are some fundamental things that are important to consider when creating your logo. Those are things like making sure that your logo is easy to read, that it works at big scale and small scale, that you can use it if you have to in somewhere that's just black and white. These things are really important to make sure that your logo can stand the test of time and that it's usable everywhere, not just on Instagram or in certain locations. It has to be able to be applied and used absolutely everywhere. So think about these things when you are creating or commissioning your logo. You can't just have a million gradient patterns and images in there. It has to be a logo that's going to stand alone, stand strong, and be able to be used at different sizes, scales, situations. Needs to be a flexible and usable logo. The next big thing to think about is your colors, right? These colors are super important. I've mentioned color a bunch of times on the podcast so far, and it's important because it really increases your brand recognition. I think up to 80% more. It's really important to have a really clear and distinct color palette that you use across all of your branding. Just like logos, there are a bunch of different types of color palettes. My core suggestion for creating a color palette is to have 1 to 2 main core colors. So for me, that's orange. And then you have maybe 2 to 3 more secondary colors. For me, I have a blue and a red and like a beige for those colors. Then you should also have 2 neutral colors. So a dark neutral and a light neutral. So that could be just straight black and white, or it could be like a dark gray and a cream, however you want to make that work. But that's kind of a basic color palette structure. So 1 main color, 2 to 3 secondary colors, and then 2 neutral colors. And that should give you everything that you need in order to have a really flexible but constrained and consistent color palette. That's important. We want it to be consistent, but you also need to have the flexibility to be able to have call to actions on your website that stand out and have text copy that works and is readable. And you've got to have a palette that works for all of these and is applicable to a lot of situations. So follow that structure and you'll have a beautiful, consistent color palette. The next thing to think about is fonts or typefaces. These are the different types of fonts that you use in your body copy and your headings, probably on your website or your social media graphics, things like that. And there are a bunch of different types of fonts that you can use, ranging from script fonts to really modern sans serif fonts to old retro fonts. Like, there are so many different styles of fonts, and fonts really do have meaning. They tell a story without you even having to read the words that are written in those fonts. You can tell and feel the story through the fonts themselves. So you can have a look into some font meanings. I already have an old blog post that I'll link that's all about the different types of fonts and the different classifications and the meanings behind them. So you can go and have a read of that and use fonts that evoke the feeling that you want to portray. And that's the same with color too, just to go back a little bit. When you choose your colors and choose that color palette, it should be representing the feeling that you want to have come across, because color has meaning too. So combined, your color and fonts is really, really powerful because they both have a lot of meaning. When you thoughtfully put those two together, it can be really, really powerful in telling the right story, or if you do it wrong, it can tell the wrong story. So you want to be careful about what colors and what fonts you're choosing and what messages they tell. Now, those are kind of the core three that everybody thinks about when they think about creating a brand identity, but there are a few more, and one of those is patterns. Patterns are a great asset to use. They give you more graphic elements that you can use across social media and your website and like printed materials. You can use them in the background. I'm using this kind of pattern or collection of colored blobs in my new branding, but you could have more of a consistent pattern, hand-drawn patterns. It's really up to you, but having a pattern is a really helpful and flexible asset to your brand to be able to use. So think about what patterns could you use that will enable you to decorate your brand a little bit. Another one of these other things that you can think about is icons. We use icons all the time on our website. You can use them when you're trying to break up information. So if you have a long amount of text on your website, or you have a PDF or something that you're sharing, icons are really, really useful for that. So you can use line icons, so they're just the outline of the figure or the symbol that you're trying to share, or you can use like filled in ones, different colored ones, more complicated ones. There are a bunch of different icons that you can use, and you can find sets that already exist, or you can create custom icons depending on how complicated and special you want to make your icons. But icons are really powerful in conveying information and breaking down and simplifying information. If you are wanting to make your content really easy to digest and kind of bullet point that information, then having a set of icons is going to be really, really helpful for you. Along that similar vein is illustrations, and illustrations are a bigger way of conveying information through visuals. And so while icons are really small and they bullet point information, illustrations are used often to convey more complicated, more complex pieces of information. So illustrations have so many different styles that you can choose from. There are so many amazing, talented illustrators out there that you can work with, or if you feel like doing it yourself, you can do that too. Illustrations really add a lot of character and a distinct style to your brand if you use them. So I highly recommend looking into illustrations and thinking about what style are you going to use if and when you use illustrations in your branding. And another massively important one that I actually love talking about and love teaching about is brand photography. Every brand needs to have ideally a set of photographs that are uniquely yours. So it's fine to use stock photos when you need to, and I have another great resource that's all about like amazing places to find stock photography. If you're trying to level up your brand and get to a place where people see you as a serious business, a badass creative who is smashing it, then I highly, highly recommend getting some photographs of you and your work and your process and your creative space. All of these different aspects of your business, you can get photos of these that you can use everywhere. You can use them on social media, in presentations, on your website, and emails that you send. Like, you can use them absolutely everywhere, and they really add a unique style to your brand and make you stand out from other people who are just using stock photography. And it lets people kind of into your world. It lets people see how you create your work. It lets people see where you work and what you look like. It just really brings a special kind of magic to your brand when people can see you and your process and your work and your space and all of that amazing stuff. Have a think about brand photography. Reach out to somebody in your local area who's a photographer and see if you can get some professional, beautiful, unique brand photos taken. One step on from illustrations and icons that you can do is think about animation. Animation adds a lot of like fun and energy and makes your content really dynamic. Animation is a way that you can add that into your brand. I recently did this with my friend Devin. He's a motion graphics designer, and he took my brand, my logos, and turned them into animated assets. So I now have like a rotating ampersand that's on my website. I've got animated introductions to these podcast episodes. I have animated transitions that I can use throughout the videos that I can put on Instagram TV and things like that. They really just add an extra level on top of your brand. They're not a necessary thing, I don't think, but if you want to go like the next level and wow people and really like show off your brand, then I highly recommend trying out some animation and thinking about how that can fit into your brand and what it says about your brand as well. And then the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is music. So often we don't think about music being a part of branding, but it really is, and it's something that more and more people are thinking about these days. Semi-recently, probably a year ago now, MasterCard did a whole project on their sonic branding, that's what they called it, all about what noises does it make when you use your MasterCard and what noises come up on the ATM, what sounds and music play on the ad. This is all part of the experience of using MasterCard, right? And so you can think about this as well. For example, this podcast, the music that I use on this podcast tells a completely different story than somebody else's podcast because of how it feels and the tempo of the music and just the vibe that it gives off. So you can think about what music are you using on your videos or podcasts. You can think about what sounds happen on your website maybe, or things like that. Just think about the music and the sound, the auditory experience for your audience. Again, this is something that's not like massively necessary. It's not the first thing you should be thinking about. But if you are especially doing any video or podcast content, thinking about the music and the audio is really important. Okay, so we have basically covered the major things that you need to be thinking about when you are putting your brand identity together and the fundamental things to be thinking about. So those things, just to recap, are your logos, colors, fonts, patterns, icons, illustrations, photography, animation, and music. So that's 10 things that you can be thinking about when it comes to putting your brand identity together. I hope that this has been helpful. If you want to go into more detail about any one of these, just let me know which one of these you want to go into more detail about. And I'd also love to know what one you want to focus on. What do you want to implement more in your business? Do you want to think about what colors you're using a bit more carefully? Maybe you'd never thought about the music side of things. Which one of these would you like to focus on and implement more in your brand? Let me know in the comments. I would love to know, and I will see you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of Brand Your Passion and choosing to spend some time with me learning about branding, business, and all things creativity. You can find more episodes just like this one at blackandwhitestudios.nz/brandyourpassion. If you liked this one, you can tap that subscribe button so that you're notified about every new episode. And if you've got a spare second, I would love it if you could leave a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. I would love to hear from you and hear about how you're enjoying the podcast. If there were some helpful goodies in this episode for you, it would mean the world to me if you could screenshot your podcast player on your phone right now, hop over to Instagram or Twitter and tag me at Black and White Studios. That's at BLCKWHT Studios. By subscribing and reviewing and sharing, you're helping me to reach more creators just like you so that together we can make the world a more creative place, one brand at a time. I really can't achieve this mission without you, so your support means the world. I'll talk to you in the next episode, but until then, keep creating.